Hi everyone, welcome to today's research-informed defensive lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, use of force expert, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, CEO of Active Self-Protection, Stephanie Widener.
This is not a paid endorsement, but I am a brand ambassador for Heckler and Koch USA. HK firearms are incredibly reliable, incredibly accurate, great firearms for defensive carry. From the new VP9A1 to the CC9 to the P30 that I have carried every day for the last 8 years, they are incredible firearms for defensive use. You carry a gun just in case. Shouldn't it be an HK just in case? Today's video comes out of Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is a little bitty town in between Ann Arbor and Detroit. So you can see here our guy in a hood and a mask. He sure looks to me like he is a violent crime tourist. We have audio, so let's listen in.
Give me all the money right now. All the money I'll spend. Right now. Right now. I'm going to give you everything. All of it. Everything. 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 I'm going to. Done? I'm going to. I ain't never seen you. Hey, put it back. Put it back. Put it back. Put it back. Put it. I'm letting you know. Put it back. I'm the owner. Put it back. You're the owner. Yeah. Put it back. Put it back. Put the money back. All right. All right. Put it back. All right. Well, let me go. Okay. Put it back. Put it back. Let me go. Okay. Me, dog. Don't do it, dog. Yeah, I'll put it back. I'll put it back. Leave it alone. Leave me alone. He broke my feelings. Put it back. All right. Put it down. I will. Put it down. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go, bro. Let me go. Let me go. All right. Put it back. Let me go. Put it back. Let me go, bro. Put it back. Let me go, bro. Let me go, bro. All right. I'll put it back. Put it back. I'll put it back. My head stuff, bro. Put it back. I'll put it back. I'll put it back. I'll put it back. Maria. I'm sorry, bro. I ain't gonna put my head on you. Come back. I'll put it back. Put it back. I'm sorry, bro. My brother, man. My brother, man. You do that, bro. Yo, brother, man. Yo, you got guns and shit. Yo, you killed me, bro.
So what happened is that another employee who was in the back room called the next door neighbor who runs a hookah shop, according to the news stories that I've linked in the description, and he came over swinging his big brass balls and handled his business. He ended up letting that guy go and sending him on his way. The guy ended up having a pellet gun, not a real gun. Cops arrested him a couple days later and he is facing felony charges. And our hero, next door neighbor's shop owner has been lauded in feasting and song. All right, fun fact. I bet you didn't know this, but Stephanie is one of the very first Force Science Advanced Force Science Specialist graduates from a non-sworn perspective.
Oh, such a great course. We learned so much that we're able to bring back to these videos to use to analyze these use of force encounters in a much more research-informed way.
So why is Stephanie here all the time? Because quite frankly, she's one of the leading experts in the country on the issue. Stephanie, I have said this before, I will say it again. This incident happened February 2025. And today, if you see somebody in a mask, it's kind of concerning. Some people still wear masks though in public, especially if they've got an upper respiratory infection. But you see somebody in a mask and a hood together, that is absolutely a pre-attack indicator for an armed robbery. If somebody comes in your store like that, I would literally demand that they take the hood off or leave.
Yeah, and if you're behind the counter and it looks like she has no means or ability or interest in defending herself, that might be your signal to just go in the back for a bit and see what, is that person hanging around or leaving. Just don't continue to put yourself at risk there for a company and some money and some fruit, I guess.
I mean, even if it's your company and you're the one who owns whatever's in the till, man, hey, I'm gonna put myself in a position of safety. Please leave or take that hood off. I absolutely not. And if you won't, well, no, I'm not. I'm cold and I'm sick, and then you shouldn't be in my store. Have a nice day. Get out of my store. And I know that's what our perps do. They prey on social norms. They use social norms against you in order to put you at position of disadvantage. And we don't want to say anything because we don't want to offend a customer, and we don't want a bad Yelp review, and we don't want to get canceled. Hood and mask together are an indicator of a pre-attack cue. And also, is this guy from Ypsilanti, Michigan? Maybe, but also Detroit ain't far away, and bad guys jump in cars too and go to nice neighborhoods in order to find more ripe targets, and that's exactly what we see here. But what kind of bad guy do we have here? Well, what you're gonna notice as the action begins is that he pulls the gun out and then immediately takes his gun hand off the gun and starts pointing at stuff and looking away from things. And if you're an astute self-defender, now it's pretty clear that I think, Steph, that the woman here wasn't a self-defender. But if you are, and you see the fact that A, he doesn't have his gun hand on the gun, B, he's holding it goofy, if you're fast with your gun and your skill set is up to par, you can counter ambush this guy and get ahead of him pretty quick here.
Yeah, and that's really important to know when you learn that sort of thing out doing some practice and on the range with a timer, so you can find out when you can stage these counter ambushes, how much of an opportunity do you need, and that can be really helpful. We found that super helpful information when doing our own force-on-force scenarios and things, realizing when and what opportunity do you need to see to present a good ambush. It's really, really helpful.
It really is helpful. Now, the only way you're going to get that, that's by training your skills. And I get it. In most of the country now, you don't need a permit to carry a firearm. Training can be expensive. Heck, man, go watch Active Self-Protection Extra. Get the skill set from there. Go to the range yourself. Yes, buy a timer. Man, the ones on your phone are going to suck. It's the reality of things. So get yourself a timer, hold yourself to accuracy standards, and practice. Get good at this so you know what your timing is. You know what you have capable available to you. Here, he would have had good time. And I think as this robbery is going to progress, what you're going to see is easier time frames. Because this one here, you probably need a pretty sporty draw. My guess here would be if you're not 1-2, 1-3, I wouldn't really try it on that one because he can get his hand back on the gun pretty quick. But pretty fast here, he gets his hand way away from the gun and he gets his attention away from the gun because he's looking at the till at the register and looking at the money, and his focus is on picking bills out of the till. So here, if our clerk just steps back, he's not looking at you, his hand is off the gun, it's not pointed at you. If you have a 1.5 second draw to first hit at 3 yards, which is about how far you'd be, there's no way he's getting back around to you and beating you to the shot here.
And if you don't have that ability or don't have that tool available to you, his attention is so wrapped up in getting money out of the till, and he's not focused on our person at all, on the clerk here at all, that might be your opportunity to dip out the back or gain yourself a few feet from him in case he does try to shoot. Every foot you can put between yourself and him is going to diminish his accuracy. Do something with some initiative to get yourself in a better position.
Do something. I love it. Better than do nothing. Now, she did something. She complied, right? And compliance is always an option. It did work for her in this case. Although I do think it's kind of interesting, Steph, that the other employee decided, well, I'm not going to help, but I'll outsource my violence. I'll call somebody who is more adult than me and call the next door neighbor who said, yeah, we don't, we're not actual blood relations, but they are like that to me because, they are from my community. The guy, this clerk here who comes in as an absolute stud and a total hero. If you go read the news story, please do. He and his family emigrated to the United States when he was 7 years old, and he's lived in Michigan that whole time. And he's just adopted this. This to me is like the heart of an American citizen here, right? He wasn't born here. He's a first generation American. His parents brought him here when he was a little, like a little boy, 7 years old. And he just decided, you know what? I'm going to protect my community. So attitude for days, and I love him for that. But I would think, Steph, that we should pay attention to the fact that this is very dangerous here, that if that guy had a real gun and a real attitude to use it, our hero here could be a martyr instead.
Yeah, I just really applaud that he was willing to step in and take some risks. I think that's great. The other employee didn't, and that's not wrong. And I don't think it would have been wrong for this gentleman not to risk everything in order to step in and help someone either. So just understand that people are under no obligation to come to your defense, and you could very well be on your own. But this man did choose to step up and did choose to do something, came in with everything in, as far as attitude, and just demanded that this guy set things right, and I absolutely applaud that. But we have also seen it go the other way as well.
Yeah, I think that it would have been much less risk to him here had he been armed himself. Because again, if he knows it's an armed robbery, guy with a gun is robbing our store. I'm on the way in, I see the gun. Now, it would have been tough for him to see the gun from the angle that he is right now. But given that he's seen the gun, can you shoot this guy in the back? It's not about where you shoot somebody, it's about why. Why'd you shoot him? He was robbing the store at gunpoint. All the employees in the store were at risk of death. I had to stop that threat immediately. That would be justified conduct all day long, given we are in the midst of an armed robbery. Now, you might say, well, but the gun was a pellet gun. He didn't know that, and that gun certainly looked real, and therefore he had a reasonable perception that it was a deadly threat, and that's what's required. Now, again, the news story says he has no martial arts training whatsoever, and that does show up a little bit here because you notice our bad guy has that gun kind of out in space, and Ed Parker is famous for saying, man, when you send a weapon into orbit, it will orbit back around to you, and that is a bad day because if our bad guy here actually has some skills and actually has a real gun, which he's feigning that he has a real gun, he wants you to think he has a real gun, then our good guy here probably ends up shot or at least has a really significant risk of being shot. So if you're going to take this tack, man, I wouldn't do that if you don't have a high level of martial arts skill, and this guy didn't, Steph.
No, but again, we see that attitude and willingness kind of carry the day. It doesn't always. So like, I think it's good and important that you caution people on that because very often we imagine ourselves as the hero with no preparation and no training and just a really good idea of what we want to happen and that we'll be victorious. And in this case, this gentleman was, but it doesn't always work out that way. And so we have to be really thoughtful about that.
It's fortuitous outcomes like this that can reinforce bad choices. And so I just want I want us all to really think about, hey, wait a minute, this was a low percentage play. Now, it paid off, right? He bet on lucky number 7 and it hit. So cool. But just because he does that doesn't mean that the house is not going to win the majority of those. And, they build those casinos on losers, not on winners. And I don't want to pin that too far, but I want to be very cautious to all of us that it was a low percentage play. Attitude, though, overcomes so many tactical deficiencies, and it's exactly what he did here. And I do think that he kind of instinctually did something really well here, which is put 2 hands on the gun. Remember, 2-on-1 wins. That's dominance, right? So again, you want to deflect it away from you. Control distance first, so +1 is distance. Then deflect, dominate, distract, disarm, disable. And that's kind of what we see here. You saw him close the distance. Then he deflects the gun away from him so it's not pointed at him. Dominates with 2 hands here. He's going to distract the guy by turning him around a whole bunch, disarm him, and then disable him from being able to harm him more. So those 5Ds +1 worked, and you don't have to have this huge level of Kung Fu and years. I've got 19 years of martial arts study and a 2nd degree black belt. But you don't got to have that in order to successfully defend yourself, although I will say I'd rather have more than none before the first time I have to try to take a gun away from somebody.
Right. Well, and then if you want to look at our defender in the back, or our clerk here in the back, she's not adding anything to this and also not leaving. So she's continuing to put herself at risk without being any help whatsoever. If I had any suggestion to the guy that's in the grappling fight here, if you want and need help, maybe think about shouting out some specific instructions, help me with this, grab his legs. And some of the scenario training that we just recently did, that was the challenge with some of the bystanders were not aware of how they could actually be helpful and not in the way. And we thought that perhaps some specific instructions would be helpful. What are you needing? What are you looking for? But if you can't be helpful, get out of the way. There's still all kinds of stuff going on here and you're just continuing to be at risk for no benefit.
Right. No upside to you being there, tons of potential downside. Escape the danger zone, even if that's just into the back room, if you're not going to be a help. And you can see she's trying, she's thinking about being of help. She's like, how can I help? And then she realizes she can't. You heard the guy there, he's like, oh no, you broke my gun. I thought that was one of the funniest things I've heard. And our guy then chucks the gun and he's trying to leave now. He wants out, but our good guy's like, nah, fam, you're not leaving because you still got a fistful of dollars and you're not Clint Eastwood, so you're not going to get away with that. And he's going to end up pulling him back into the store, dumping him on his butt, and then getting him with not quite knee on belly, but maybe he's watched enough UFC to kind of get on top of the guy. And again, most of us have a lot more KFC than we have UFC. And okay, you can hold somebody who has just committed a felony in your presence, especially a violent felony like that. There's not a state in the union you can't hold a violent felon. But do you have the capabilities? And of course, in this case, our intrepid hero, like, all right, what other weapons does this guy have on him? What else is he capable of? And I'm staying right next to him. I can smell his bad breath. And while you can do it, Steph, again, it's a low percentage play.
Yeah, I feel like we are continuing to make kind of suboptimal choices, but they're continuing to pay off. And so much of that is just his willingness and attitude, and it works out great for him. So it's really uncomfortable to try to pick apart some of these things that worked so well and that we admire in our neighbors. And so I think it's great, but again, it troubles me from the point that I feel like he's continuing to put himself at risk for not a lot of upside. I know he wanted the man to let go of the dollars before he left, and eventually did get that, and then eventually did let him leave. I think maybe it would have been best to just end while they were at the door and let the guy get out.
I think it certainly would have been a better play. But, of course, we always love to see the Hail Mary win the game at the end, and, the grand slam in the bottom of the 9th inning. And rather than, okay, we cruised to easy victory because we played high percentage plays all day long, right? That doesn't incite the kind of American underdog story. So I get it. I'm trying to teach all of us, though, make high percentage plays. And here we had several low percentage plays that, because of his incredible attitude, worked out. And I have nothing but respect for him. And again, he sailed between Skyla and Charybdis here. If you get that reference, you're a total nerd, by the way. And made it happen. And I actually love here that eventually, okay, man, get up, get out of here, and go upon your way. Get out of here. And I like that. Again, kind of risky, because you don't know what else that guy has on him. You don't know what his buddies have on him. He may have 3 buddies out there who are armed, and he may realize, I need reinforcements. So he goes out and gets those reinforcements. But everything played out here, right? So they ended up arresting the guy. The guy has ended up facing huge charges for armed robbery. He got $0. He got nothing out of the till. He lost his little pellet gun. So, hey, our clerk gets a trophy out of the thing. And man, sometimes attitude is enough to cover your ass.